Hey everybody. No big flashy opening to this video. I wanted to speak today about the power of rhetoric, which is what this channel is about. And sometimes I think that when I talk about the power of rhetoric, I don't really do it justice. I treat it like it's some kind of a tool and not something that we have to handle with great care and responsibility. It's dangerous. It's incredibly sharp and, just like chemistry or power tools or anything like that. Power tools is probably a bad metaphor because it's more like handling volatile substances or handling dangerous animals. You really need to know what you're doing, and it's different every time. It's like the situation changes at every time. So it's a difficult and tiring thing to study, but this channel is all about rhetoric, and I hope that you've liked the videos, or at least engaged with the videos. You don't have to like them, but engage with the videos. They make you think a little bit as I do this rhetorical analysis. But now I'm feeling like I don't really push it far enough, because yesterday, I'm filming this video on September 11th. Yesterday, Charlie Kirk, who everybody knows as the this big campus debate advocate, is kind of how he's thought of, was assassinated. And the response to this assassination, no matter what political side it's on, has really shown me how rhetorically impoverished we are. So I thought I'd make a video where I put some ideas out there that you can agree or disagree with, but ideas about how I see the world as a sophist and a practicing rhetorician, as somebody who thinks that rhetoric is the best way to think as a foundational level. Not science, not truth, not anything like that, but rhetoric is the way to think about humans and human affairs and how to constitute the most important thing that we need in society, which is shared meaning, which I don't think we have for lots of different reasons. But one is that we don't really put any faith in rhetoric. After the news hit, and I was sort of talking to some people about it, different kinds of responses, like surprise, disbelief, and yeah, some people are texting me celebration and jokes. All of these responses showed me how incredibly fraught of a symbol Charlie Kirk is. As a rhetorician, one of the things that really surprised me is how the media immediately went to saying, Charlie Kirk, conservative activist, husband, and father. Why are they putting that in there? What does that do rhetorically? And I think what the media is trying to do is communicate, hey, a human being was killed here. This is a person who was killed. But for most of us, Charlie Kirk is not a person. He's a symbol. For almost everybody, he's either a symbol of what's wrong with America, what's right with America, what is wrong with the left, what's wrong with the right. All of these things are kind of circling around this guy. And he put himself out there as a symbol, as this kind of symbol. You can go and look. Maybe I can do a rhetorical analysis of his Republican National Convention speech, but he put himself out there as a symbol. He's like, I'm this this functionary person. I have this important role, and this is what I do, is go and challenge these bad campus ideas. And I think he was very happy to be that person. But he's playing around with rhetoric in this way that is incredibly dangerous. As a rhetorician, I can't abide what he's doing, not because of my politics or anything like that. Surely if I were to talk to him, I probably wouldn't agree with the things he wants to do. But I think we would find some commonplace agreement if I was able to talk to him, because it's a different kind of venue than a debate. But we'll get to that in a little bit later when we talk about models of debate in terms of rhetoric. But I think that when you go out and you try to engage people in public discourse in a society that's rejected rhetoric in favor of the truth, and that truth is determined through a scientific knowing, you are putting your life on the line. Because at some point, if you do not accept that truth, and the only thing you have to respond to it is your own truth, you only have one instrument that plays one note. The only thing you do is play it louder. But eventually the anxiety and the frustration get to such a point that you get violence, physical, material violence. But that's not to say rhetoric isn't violent. Rhetoric is a kind of a violence. It can be. It's sharp. It's deadly. We try to warn each other about it. We try to make it nicer. We say sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Untrue. All of you can think of an example when someone said something so nasty. And Charlie Kirk had this commitment to truth over the rhetorical, over connection, over reaching people. He wasn't interested in reaching people and changing minds. He was interested in proving how incredibly rich and correct and true his ideas were, and how vapid, surface level, and unthoughtful the ideas of his political opponents were. So the style of that, the thing he's marketing, is he can say things like, I don't think empathy is a good thing. I don't think we should have had a Civil Rights Act. I think women are profoundly unhappy if they pursue a career. So he says these things, but these are like said in a way that shows his commitment to a particular view of the world, not a commitment to bringing anyone to it. So in that way, he's not this proponent of rhetoric that we would think he is. But I sympathize with him because I have had this sensibility that I should do more. And I should go out and reach out and talk to people. I don't think I could be a superstar like him. No way. I'm like just a university professor. I don't think I could get a superstar, that kind of crowd power. He had a kind of a charisma and a kind of a way of doing things that I don't think I have a mastery of. But I am definitely sympathetic to the idea of like, let's go out and talk to big crowds about good ideas. But if you're going to do that and you're going to do it rhetorically, it's incredibly dangerous. Because people don't have the tools to engage you. They have the truth. And if you don't accept the truth, then you're either ignorant, subhuman, or evil. That's all we've got. Those are the three notes we can play on our rhetorical instrument because we've rejected it. Kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit, but I do want to say I do think it was an assassination, and I think that a public assassination like this of a prominent political figure can only be thought of as a message. Who is this message for? Not for Charlie Kirk. He can't interpret it. He's gone beyond the rhetorical barrier. He's no longer subject to being, he's no longer a symbol using and misusing animal, as Burke would say. He's left us. So it's not for him. It's for everyone watching him, everyone at that event, all the students crowding around to see what he would do. And I would think that audience is a huge amount of supporters. One of the things we've learned is that the campus allowed anyone to come. It's not just for students. Anyone from the community could come. So it's his supporters and fans, I would say, mostly, and then curious students, I think, just watching to see what this is like. What's this about? What's he going to say? Some of my family members in my family chat didn't know who he was. So there's this, like, real, kind of uncertainty about who this guy is. And I think that if you're very highly polarized, Republican, Democrat, you know who he is. But some people didn't know. But let's talk about, so this event has made me feel like I'm somewhat responsible. And I think all of us are responsible for this kind of action because we have not treated rhetoric with the respect it deserves and with the seriousness it deserves. We think people should encounter what's right and know it. And if they don't, then they're just idiots. And social media encourages this discourse. And our legacy media encourages this discourse. Look at those idiots. It's like parasocial. Look at these idiots who believe it. Look at that stupid person who didn't do X, Y, and Z. It makes us feel better about ourselves, so we watch more news. It's all a commercial. Everything is for profit, and that creates this commercial bent in all of our discourse, which is incredibly harmful. But I don't want this video to be too long. So I think what I'm going to do is go to my PowerPoint. Yes, I created a PowerPoint for you guys. I guess we can have some sound effects. This is not like, yeah, PowerPoint. I mean, it is kind of a serious video, but I feel that there's collective responsibility here, and I feel really like I could be doing a lot more in terms of public discourse of pointing out how essential rhetoric is and how rhetoric, although violent, is the tool that we need to engage other people. Charlie Kirk didn't have rhetorical training. He learned all of his in the trenches, and he did what worked for him, but maybe not what was best. The people in the audience still have rhetorical training. They have training in like the training that we get from school. There's fact and opinion. And to beat someone in a debate, you need to have the facts. And if you think of someone as in disagreement with you, then they obviously don't have the facts. You have to show them the facts. And if they don't believe it, you say the facts again. You say them angrily. You say them like, you're an idiot. You don't even understand that these are the facts. And that's all we can really do. So this escalates a form of anxiety and frustration that Charlie Kirk capitalized on quite a bit, but I'm sure he felt it a little bit. He was like, well, how come I can't reach all these? I guess these liberals are a lost cause. Maybe that's what he said to himself. I don't know. I'm not sure what he would say to himself to make it, but he's also making a lot of money off of these tours and things like that. So, and he thought he was doing good. I really believe he thought he was doing what was right, but he doesn't have the understanding of how rhetoric would make you just so much more powerful than even if you had all the facts. I think that's like, the big issue here. So yeah, so let me see here. Okay, great. Got my PowerPoint going. Okay, so here's my first postulate I'm going to give you to think about as I attempt to persuade you that what we need is a stronger commitment to rhetoric and an abandonment of all this other political nonsense that's going on. And one more thing before we start this, looking at the responses of our elected officials, you can see that they're terrified of damage to the structure, not damage to each other. It's sort of like the bad parent who's like, oh, you guys were roughhousing. You guys are like throwing each other across the room. You're damaging my couch. You're going to hurt the hi-fi system. Do people even still have a hi-fi system? You're going to damage the TV. You're going to damage the furniture. That's what Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, this is what they're like, my house. Oh my God, my property. They're not terribly interested in the harm we do to each other because we're pretty replaceable to them. They feel like they have the data and they feel like they have the research to be able to just, create new voters, whatever. They don't care too much about that, but they don't have any kind of strategy for if the house burns down. So this kind of an assassination makes them feel like if they legitimize that, or they let that pass at any level, then these assassinations would ruin the way that they understand politics to happen. Of course, there's arguments for assassination. Our government made them and did assassinations many times. There's historical moments of governments in a position to assassinate someone. They choose not to. You can look at all of this in history, but there are arguments to be made that assassination is a justified political act. I'm not going to make those arguments because I don't want to get into that. I want to talk about how rhetoric would prevent this kind of incident because it doesn't solve anything. What we would want is people not to value the truth and eliminate those people who are misrepresenting the truth, but a world where that person has to stay alive in order to see the ultimate victory that you have achieved. All right, let's take a look here. Postulate 1. Our abandonment of rhetoric is abandonment of one another. When we abandon rhetoric and we say that rhetoric is useless or rhetoric is just a bag of tricks, what we're doing is saying, I don't really see any need to connect with you. And this goes with like kind of the broad brush history of philosophy and the history of the philosophy of science, which is the truth is the truth. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It doesn't matter how you think about it. Facts are facts. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. If you don't accept it, then there's something wrong with you. But in order to have any kind of community, any kind of shared governance, any kind of legal structure, what you have to have is some kind of shared view of the world. And that's what rhetoric bases itself off of. So rhetoric fell out of repute when you have early modern senses of what the truth is coming up and sort of replacing it. Let's look to one ancient world. And I just gave my Cornell lecture, my annual Cornell. Thank you very much. Actually, it was kind of a shit lecture, but you can go watch it. I don't think it was the best one. The 2016 one is you guys' favorite. That one has 4,000 views or something. It's a big view for me. I'm a little channel, so it's a big deal for me. I want to look at the sophist Gorgias, who's somebody who I really admire. And the sophist Gorgias defined rhetoric as a pharmakon, which is the ancient Greek word for a drug. A drug, he says, it can heal, it can harm, it can change one's perspective, which is, of course, everyone's favorite use of drugs these days, is it can calm you down, change your emotions. It all can change your perspective, right? Like acid, mushrooms, things like that. You start to see things differently. There's different A different reality opens up for you. Everything becomes detached from its, what Lacan would call the big other, from its shared symbolic meaning, and you get new ways in. But also, drugs are important for sickness. They cure people. They reduce pain. And you could think rhetoric can do that too. If you say the right words at the right time to the right person, they're like, thank you so much. I feel so much better. They're like all the psychotropic drugs everybody's on now, psychological drugs to reduce anxiety, ADHD, things like that. Rhetoric does the same thing. Maybe not to the level of addressing pathology. I don't want to say diseases aren't real or something, but it has that same function. And Gorgias sort of recognized this when he offered this definition. This is not something Plato had Gorgias say in his dialogue. This is what Gorgias says in his work, The Encomium of Helen, which is a speech in defense of Helen, who nobody liked at that time. So what have we done in the United States in the 21st century? We have totally abandoned rhetoric. We think rhetoric is a bag of tricks, and to use the drug metaphor further, this is what we've done. Just say no. Absolutely no drugs, absolutely no rhetoric. Rhetoric is the enemy. Rhetoric is terrible. Don't use it at all. But you're also freezing out all of these other beautiful uses for it. Like we could narrow the metaphor and say, okay, mushrooms and LSD are bad. They're harmful. They make people do crazy, harmful things. But at the same time, they also offer new insights and perception, which is what rhetoric does. But we don't want that. What we do when we say just say no, we want one particular thing, the truth. The truth can be determined through facts, and research determines the facts. Once we have the truth, that's it. But what the sophist recognized and what teachers of rhetoric recognized is that when we think we have the truth, often what we have is a perspective, and that perspective needs to be tested because truth is not something people own. It's not something I own or you own. It's not ours. It's a shared thing that has to be cared for and watered. It's like a cat or dog or a garden, house plant, something like that. Whatever your favorite thought is, it has to be fed, watered, taken care of. You have to take care of it. It's not something that just exists like a stone statue or like some kind of archaeological ruin that we've dug out of the jungle. I think a lot of people think of it that way. But it's not that at all. Rhetoric shows us as a shared thing that has to be maintained. And when we have just say no to rhetoric, we lose all of our ability to care for that thing. Now, the Romans thought of it as res publica, the republic, the public thing. And that's what the founding fathers of the United States also thought of it as. Here's another great rhetorical idea. Argumentum in umtramque partem. You Latinists out there making fun of my pronunciation, just you wait. One day I'll have time to get better at Latin, I tell you. My Latin sucks, actually. But argumentum in umtramque partem means that argument two sides is a method of understanding. That is, and this is kind of, I think, close to the spirit of what people are defending about Charlie Kirk. I don't think Charlie Kirk believed this, because I think he thinks he's right. And I think he thinks debate is the method to show his rightness, that no one can critique him if he wins these debates with these young people, because the young people are going to be incapable or dumb or unaware of the facts, and he's aware of the facts, he's capable, and he's also open challenge. So I think he felt like it was that, but that's not the same thing that the Romans are talking about. That's not even the power of rhetoric at all. Argumentum in umtramque partem means that we have to take two sides of an issue, and then some truth will come out of it. Not the truth, but a shared understanding. And when you're in a republic, that's incredibly important. Everything about Roman rhetoric and everything about classical rhetoric that comes from the Roman world or comes from the Greek world is about these two things, commonplaces and topoi. The commonplaces are shared values, places, and shared things in our society that we all have familiarity with, and they mean something to us. Public places of argument, public places of gathering, things like that. The topoi are systems of discovering argument. You take your idea and you run them through the topoi, and it makes it more attractive to other people. Now, these two things have no place at all in this world. Why? Because the truth is the truth. It doesn't matter how you frame it. It doesn't matter how you connect it. It doesn't matter how you articulate it. And there are some people out there who believe that when you start to alter the way you present the truth, you're doing incredible violence to the truth, and you're evil. So the idea of adapting one's message to reach people is seen as a serious crime to people who believe that, well, there's truth and facts, and people deny the truth and this thing. But what rhetoric would do is soften that and say, well, I think I know the truth. But the best way to test the truth would be for me to argue with you about it. And that is the argumentum in tramque partem. Because as we know, in most arguments and debates, if they're done legitimately, if they're done as proper debates, and I'm going to get to that in a second. As a rhetorician and someone who's taught debate for years and years, I think I can speak on that. No one's going to win this. What's going to come out is a new perspective, a new thought or idea about it. And I try to make this not about Lacan, but you can already see that we're going towards a Lacanian sort of sense of the discourse of the analyst. That exchange leads to a new understanding that neither one of us could come to on our own, and that's the power of it. That's why a lot of evolutionary psychologists, cognitive theorists, cognitive philosophers, and psychologists are coming to the conclusion that communication is our evolutionary inheritance. Not logic, not reason, but those are things that we can communicate about. They help us communicate better in different valences. All right, next postulate. The truth will not set you free. On the contrary, the truth is a prison. I already talked about this a little bit, but our foundation, our structure of truth is one that once you find it, there's no other reason to talk or to look at things. Once you find it, it shuts down research. It shuts down curiosity. It shuts down your willingness to listen to other people. You're just like, no, you don't get it, bro. You don't get it. This is the truth. This is what it is. David Bohm, who is a great thinker and a great scientist, he wrote the book on dialogue. He's one of the most foundational thinkers on the power of dialogue, which I consider to be debate. Debate and dialogue are pretty equivalent to me. Come for me. We can have that debate or that argument or dialogue, whatever you want to call it. I'm happy to have that with you. I think that, he said it very, very well, which is, if you feel like you have the truth, then there's no reason to get excited, angry, or energized about it. There's no if someone doesn't agree with you, eventually they'll come around because it is true. But most of the time, I think we realize unconsciously, and I think he's making this point too, not to put words in his mouth, but I feel like it's the point Bohm is making. We recognize that we don't feel completely confident we've got it, and the only way we'd be confident we got it is if we engage other people. So that's an interesting way to interpret what Charlie Kirk is doing as well, is maybe he wasn't 100% convinced that his conservative views were true, and he had to go do this for himself. But I think that's not a very compelling argument compared to he's making money and getting power and getting influence in the government, which are, I think, the things that he and his organization want, are to change laws and create policy to change the culture of the United States in a way that they think is going to be good, but many people disagree with them. And they weren't really making very compelling arguments from the perspective of a rhetorician. They were just making people look dumb by altering the rules of the game in ways that people, since we're all rhetorically impoverished and we have no rhetorical education because we just said no, we can't call Charlie Kirk, his organization, out on it. We can't do it. We don't have the tools. Rhetoricians can, but rhetoricians stay quiet. Rhetoricians aren't engaging the public. There's a lot of reasons for that, but I'm making enough enemies in this video. I don't need to go after my friends. There's a lot of reasons for that. Why do I say this? Well, let's look. Here's a David Bohm quote right here. Here's why the truth is such a problem. Because what he's saying in this quote is that if there are no shared meanings, then what you have is a society of incoherence. And in a society of incoherence, everyone's fighting for their little slice of the truth. The important thing is that we will never come to truth unless the overall meaning is coherent. So this is fascinating. David Bohm is a scientist. He won a Nobel Prize. And I really think I want you to sit with the weight of this sentence. The important thing is that we'll never come to truth unless overall meaning is coherent. Like a good scientist, I kind of want to sing that in the State Farm song. Like a good scientist, David Bohm is there. Like a good scientist, he's saying that we have to have agreement upon meaning and method, scientific method, the experimental, the valiance of experimental reasoning, experimental information construction. So incredibly important. But we can't get to truth without that. That's not the way science is thought of today. Science is thought of as discovering the truth, and if you don't accept it, you're an idiot. That's hard. That's a non-rhetorical take. I have a lot of liberal friends who are like, oh, I believe in science. No, science is not to be believed in. The coherence that the method produces should compel agreement. But if you think of science as something that from on high, these people are telling you what's what, then it's on the level of religion. And you could say what you want about religious belief, and maybe you're very religious, whatever, but that's a different kind of argument and a different kind of faith. Faith in science is based on a shared coherence. That is, we have to have replicable, similar data sets. And he's saying that in society, we need this too. So in society, we can't get to truth unless we agree upon the shared method. So he's making an appeal here, I would say, to return to rhetoric. An appeal that if we don't have commonplaces and we don't have topoi, if we don't have the shared connection of trying to influence one another, and we're just out there smacking people in the face with our truth and making them feel bad, then we're going to lead to more incoherence, more violence, more hatred, more panic. And panic leads to material violence, I would say. Uncertainty leads to this material violence, like what we saw with the assassination. This person who assassinated him was probably so fed up with what he was saying. I'm not sure if this person is a leftist or conservative. We don't know anything about them. But they're so fed up with what they're saying, and they couldn't conceive of a way to change Charlie Kirk's mind. But he's doing irreparable damage to the truth, so he has to be killed. Truth is the worst kind of penal system. It puts you in solitary confinement. No one will listen to me. Nobody believes it. Fine, I'm just going to cut off all my relationships. A lot of people have experienced that with the rise of Donald Trump from 2016 all the way until today, where their family members and dear friends who they put themselves in solitary confinement because those people are doing irreparable harm to the truth. Truth is a prison. Rhetoric is liberation, because you say, okay, that's their perception. That's my perception. I'm going to approach them with a spirit that my perception is flawed. So that means I need to do due diligence and carefully outline why I believe what I believe with care. And I need to try to reach them. What do they value? What are the commonplaces we share? What topoi will bring to the front of their mind the importance of the ideas I want them to believe? That's the power of rhetoric. That's what rhetoric is practicing that. And in the ancient world, that's all schooling was. Now schooling is, this is a fact determined by science. Believe it. Here's the test. Regurgitate it back. Terrible. All the fights in social studies that we have in public school in the U.S. about textbooks and, the legacy of race in America, slavery in America, civil rights in America. What's true? We got to teach the truth. No. We should teach perspectives and perception. And we should teach people how to say that perception is not good for the republic. Not for me, because I know in my heart, well, I believe it, and it doesn't matter if other people believe it or not. That's what we get from the prison of truth. Hans Georg Gadamer warned us about this. The humanities take way too much comfort in using sociological, social science, not sociological, I misspoke, social science or hard science data. You don't need it. What you need is the exchange. The exchange. So yeah, David Bohm's quote is great, and I wish we had scientists like that. But we don't have scientists like that anymore. We have these kind of ridiculous personality scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who the liberals love. I don't know how the leftists feel about him, but I can imagine. But the liberals love him. But there's very good critiques of him out there. Dark Matter, great book on physics, good critique of him, but she doesn't name him. But it's obvious who she's talking about. But this is the kind of person who's like, if you don't believe science, you don't work in science, you're an idiot. He's been recorded many, many, many times, Neil deGrasse Tyson, of saying to people, well, philosophy and the humanities have no value. No value. But the attack on science continues. And he can't do very much about it, can he? He can host National Geographic shows. But he can't do much except call people idiots because he has no rhetorical training himself. He's trained as an astrophysicist. And maybe he's a very good astrophysicist, but somebody needs to be there to make the difference between these two statements. There's night and day between these. I want you to think about these two phrasings. You should believe science because it's true. That's what he says. That's what Tyson always says on TV. Well, science is true. But science should be believed. That's more opening, and it has the capacity to reach people. and it has the capacity to reach people where they are and give it invites us as a resolution. It's kind of like a debate resolution, isn't it? Kind of like a debate motion. It gives us an invitation to make compelling reasons for one side or the other. And yes, we should entertain the idea that science shouldn't be believed. Science is responsible for terrible crimes. Terrible crimes. We could list the history. I don't have time on this video. But science is rife with horrible things, from the Tuskegee experiments to thalidomide. There's a lot to look at in the critique of science, but science should be believed. And I think the compelling argument on the affirmative of that is method. It has a method and a shared set of evidence. We don't have that. We don't have a method for engaging each other about the public good. We don't have it. Truth isn't going to do it for us. It puts us all in a little prison cell. Prison economy. We shout at each other. We put our little mirrors through the bars to see what's going on. It's a sad way to be. But rhetoric is like no prison, no containment. The only obligation is I have to reach you with my ideas of what's good for all of us. But I have to reach you, right? Democracy, the root of democracy is not the word fact, and it's not science, and it's not truth. We don't live in truthocracy. But in a representative democratic republic or democracy, whatever you think the United States might be, or your country, demos, the people, are at the heart of governance. The people. So you can see that's another thing that's nice about, another good thing about Charlie Kirk is like this idea of like, I'm going to go out to the people. I'm going to go out to these university students who I feel are being misled, and I'm going to try to connect with them. But then he fails because he doesn't have any kind of, he not only fails, he makes the situation more dangerous because he just raises the anxiety and raises the frustration to the point where, well, I can't reason with you or speak to you, so I just have to kill you. And that's kind of the thing that's being whipped up by this kind of bad or a toxic rhetorical practice. Maybe we could call it toxic rhetoric or poisonous rhetoric. I don't know what to call it, but it's definitely there. But it's the only rhetoric in town when we're all on the Nancy Reagan bus of just say no to drugs. We have to say yes to drugs, people. We have to say yes to the pharmacon of rhetoric. We have to say yes to the sophists. But there's night and day between those two statements. All right, last one for this video. Postulate 3. Charlie Kirk was not a proponent of debate. He was not interested in debate. He was not a hero of debate. He wasn't a savior of debate. He didn't really care about debate. He saw debate as a tool to serve truth. And if you're going to treat debate and rhetoric that way, you know, you're putting vibes out there. Like young people, Gen Z is right. The vibes are off. If you put those vibes out there, karma is a real thing. Whatever energies you're putting out there are going to bounce back at you. So if you're putting the energies out there that if you don't agree with me, you should stay silent, and I'm going to embarrass you and show you that silence is your only option. Well, if I can't speak anymore, if I can't make arguments, if I'm not permitted to speak anymore because you're just going to shut me down through ridiculous questioning and a kind of a, he kind of had a performance, like I watched some of his stuff, and it was kind of a proponent of, sorry, Siri decided to get involved there. He was like a proponent of this kind of egocentric performance, this snooty performance. It was part of his like stage presence of being like this kind of holier than thou, like, oh, you know, I dropped out of college, but you can't even reason with me. But the big thing is there's no like shared preparation. I think if Charlie Kirk was a proponent of debate, he would say, this is the topic. I want people to debate. Call this number. Let's talk to some people. Let's set up some debates. And he would be willing to engage a debate with evidence of, he would be willing to take a loss because he would put debate ahead of his own truth, because that's what debaters do. And that's what people who teach debate do, is they commit to debate being this kind of unum tramque partem. We're going to get more out of it if we vigorously advocate the side that we're assigned. Because a lot of times in debate, you're assigned a side you don't believe in. I don't think Charlie Kirk's people would agree to that. They'd probably always take the conservative view because that's their brand. But even if they lost the debate, even if the audience thought debate was lost, there would be knowledge about conservative politics spread, and people would be in a better position to make a better choice or explore other avenues of thought that they wouldn't prior to the debate. So let's look at this a little bit carefully, because the media is saying he was like, and a lot of rhetoricians who should know better on social media are saying, I support him because he had open debate on campus. Was it really open? Was it really open? Social media rhetoricians, when was the last time you went to a debate practice on your campus? When was the last time you talked to your debate coach? And when was the last time you set up a debate on your campus? I don't think that there's enough familiar. I think for a lot of professional rhetoricians like myself, debate's something that's great. The debate coach who has a master's degree usually handles it. It happens in the basement late at night when I'm already at home. And that's not, that's collectively bad. Like, we should all be involved in debate as something we think is the best, like rhetorical debate, not like strict intercollegiate competitive rules, but the spirit of it, right? Setting it up, doing it. But he wasn't a proponent of debate. And for a university to bring this person on campus without the communication department being involved is just very strange. It shows how little they really care about, how little university administration care about their faculty, and how little they value the professional ideas and the scholarship of their faculty. I think that's what I say about that. But let's get to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's model. Oh, here's what I think you need for a debate to work. And none of these things are present in a Turning Point Charlie Kirk or any debate bro debate, Hassan Piker debate, whoever you pick, Steven Crowder debate. None of these things are present. An agreed upon topic that can be affirmed or denied, that has to be agreed on beforehand. It has to be a statement. It can't be questions. If you just have questions, then you just get everyone confused and muddled, and people take the equivocation as victory. And you certainly can't take equivocation as victory. You have to outline why this proposition should be supported or not. And that encourages you. You have to reach out to the audience and say, do you want this in your life? Is this something you can live with? You can't do that if you don't have emotion. An agreed upon standard of evidence. Every competitive or serious form of debate, student council, city council, Congress, a dissertation committee, a promotion committee at a university, and law, any court or arbitration, already sets up rules of evidence. Any law student can tell you the rules of evidence is something they have to pass. They have to take a class on that. It's probably pretty boring. Maybe it's cool. I don't know. I would imagine it would be like, oh, God, torts and evidence. Get me to the constitutional questions. I think that's what most law students are saying. But there's no agreed upon standard of evidence and no way to agree on what evidence can we bring in or not. And you just have Charlie Kirk and these people. Oh, but you're unaware of this event. Well, maybe, but where's the evidence this event occurred? Well, if you don't know that, then I can't debate you. You're too dumb. And that's where it goes. And that's not going to, if you have that standard of evidence, and the standard of evidence should be something the audience can accept too. It shouldn't be too highbrow. It shouldn't be too lowbrow. It should be something they can, and of course the standard of evidence also goes into proof, but proof is more of like the idea of the commonplace, where you reach out to the audience with things they already believe or hold true, and reaching out to the audience and saying, we wouldn't accept that. I think Charlie Kirk does this a bit when he's in his crowd debates, because he's like, no true American would accept that, which I think is that's kind of a fallacy, right? But it really resonates with people who already support him. So it's like ramping up. It's more epidictic than deliberative in the classical rhetorical. He's like celebrating conservatism. He's not moving it forward, and he's certainly not changing anybody's mind or getting them to think deeper about it. Where he's activating them and saying, look, it's okay for you to be rude and say really mean things because you're on the side of truth, which is not how debate works. We have to have the standard of evidence. Equal time limits for speaking and questioning. No such thing at a Charlie Kirk event. He'll take questions until he's tired of you or until he frustrates you, and then you shout obscenities at him, and he says, go away. Open up the mic to somebody else. Two sides with clear obligations. One person has to defend a statement. This is more of like the Dutch school pragmadialectic theory, which I have a video on this channel. But there should be obligations of what is it you're going to defend and what is it you're not going to defend. And what am I going to do? How do we get to a point where we've reached agreement that this debate has been won? Now, in an audience-centered debate, I don't think this is very useful, but in a smaller debate where you and your friend group are trying to resolve a serious difference of opinion that has led to a stasis point where you can't move forward as friends, you can't move forward with policy, that'd be a good thing to do. And then an audience willing to judge the debate, not the issue. How did you do in presenting it? Because that's the important twist on debate is, look, I don't agree with you, but you made the best presentation, and I think it was because you did da-da-da-da-da, and it makes you think. But the most important thing about having an audience willing to judge the debate and not the issue is that the audience can say things like, That was really great, but here's why the other side is right. Then they have to re-articulate their belief. That's so powerfully important. If you're committed to truth and you're in a social media world or a Discord server where no one is on the other side, there's no dissent, there's no disagreement. That's what your Instagram, your Facebook feed are like. There's no disagreement, dissent. It makes you flabby and lazy. So it's great to have that rhetorical getting together, even if it's online or whatever, like this. Like YouTube is better than Facebook. A lot of my friends put Charlie Kirk opinion on Facebook. I'm putting on YouTube because I want the pushback, and I want your thoughts, because I think it's healthy and important, and that's what I believe in. That's rhetoric. It's healthy and important and vital. Like, I think I know what's right, but that's my perception. I need you to help me hammer that into something worth holding. Now, we should all have that opinion, I think. But some people are too caught up in the truth. Oh, I would never talk to a MAGA. I mean, to your own peril then. To your own peril. But we don't value debate the way we should. We value the truth, and then we find sneaky ways to Trojan horse it into other people's houses, right? That's what we think politics is. It's really vile, and it leads to violence, and it leads to, like, if you only have one note to play, you're going to play that note until the horn breaks, and then you're going to hit somebody over the head with the horn. That's what happens. But that re-articulation of one's belief in the light of a side of a debate that did an awesome job kicking the ass of your belief, having to re-articulate why you still hold the view, is a great way of softening your view and really realizing that maybe you don't know enough to say that you have the truth, which would be really healthy in a democracy for everybody. So what's Charlie Kirk's debate model? Well, no topic, questions only, no set amount. He can determine what he answers, what he says, how long he talks. No obligation to defend a motion. People just come and ask him questions. No evidence standard, no vetting. I guess people can look things up on their phone, but then he can just like make fun of them for not knowing. So it furthers his PR of what, I mean, Charlie Kirk was a salesman. He's selling an idea of youth conservatism, and he's selling it through a performance. And the goal is to shut down the opponent, not learn from them, not say, oh, I took an L there, or I need to look more of that up. None of that. There's a very, very famous moment in the Lincoln-Douglas debates where Senator Douglas asks Abraham Lincoln a question. And he says, I don't know enough to answer this. I propose we take a break. I'm going to go to the library and look up a couple of things in constitutional law, and then we'll reconvene in like two hours. That would never happen today. That would be called losing the debate, because it's this like clap back, slap you across the face. Knowledge is a part of my existence of who I am. I don't have to look things up. I am on the side of truth. I just know. I believe it. And there's no value. There's no value to looking things up. I mean, I like it. I think it's great that students have phone in class. They could call me out on my BS. Because, I mean, power makes you lazy, right? And Charlie Kirk has all the power in these things. I think that's why somebody shot him. They couldn't think of a way to reach him to get him to stop doing what he was doing, because they thought it was so horrifically harmful that they'd rather end his life than end his ideas. But now he's just like, he's still around. He's a symbol. He's just purely a symbol now of this kind of engagement, and everyone's going to defend this kind of engagement as good when nothing could be further from the case. Charlie Kirk's model of debate is you find the truth and then you go and debate. Debate is a method for spreading the truth, like a knife to butter, like the squeeze bottle for ketchup. That's the relationship here. But in rhetoric, we have a much more complicated understanding of it. We have our perceptions that then form us to put us into a debate. After the debate, we have increased understanding of something, the topic, how little we know about it, our own perceptions, the weakness of the other side. Maybe we are on the side of truth. We have some increased understanding, but I'm not going to say what that understanding is, because it's usually quite broad. It's usually quite scattershot. It's usually quite all over the place. And that makes us generate new perceptions. So if we were to use the Burkean terminology, we would say we have these certain attitudes. We go into debate. We have an increased understanding of the motives behind those attitudes. We form new attitudes, and then we go right back into another debate. Rhetoric is forever proving opposites, as Kenneth Burke reminds us. So this is the model of debate I would forward, which would be much, much, much better for the United States than whatever garbage Turning Point is putting out or whatever. Remember, they're trying to sell you something. They're not interested in debate. I think that if they were promoting debate, they would be surprised at how much better their messaging would be and how much more attention they would get and interest. Remember, a lot of people didn't know who Charlie Kirk was until yesterday. So the shooter didn't really understand, had this kind of like idea of like, you know, the solitary confinement truth cell. And they thought, hey, everybody knows who this guy is. But it's actually brought him to even more national attention than it would have if he hadn't taken a shot at all. Kind of weird, right? But Charlie Kirk will be with us forever, for a very long time, because of this commitment to going and taking any question at all as kind of a showpiece, but certainly incredibly dangerous to do in a society that doesn't value rhetoric, says no to rhetoric, and says truth is the only thing and facts are the only thing that we can have in public debate. That's going to lead to even more and more violence. That leads to all this divisiveness. And the only solution for that is to have more and open engagement to try to sway audiences to our side. And that's what my view is. What's your view? If you like this, there's plenty of other videos like it on the channel. Like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to get your response. I'm honestly interested. If you want to push back, or maybe you think I'm like too critical of Charlie Kirk, or maybe not critical enough, or what have you. I will say this as a closing thought, is if you have a lot of power and a lot of people following you, you say certain types of people should not exist or certain types of people should not have rights. If that person doesn't have a platform to argue with you in a way like I've proposed here in this rhetorical debate model, which I think a lot of people would say this is the correct model of debate. Maybe you're a debate instructor, maybe you don't agree. I would love to hear your thoughts. But if you don't have this model and you just have the other model of debate as a method of spreading the truth, a lot of people might feel they have no way to engage you and no way to correct the record except to kill you, to eliminate you from the earth as a living being anyway, as someone who could, as a creature who can speak, who language is part of our body. It's not, we can't just like separate the person from the speech. We can't do that. Speech is biological. I'm producing the speech with my biology, with my material body. When I'm dead, I won't be able to do it anymore. You could watch this video, but there won't ever be another voice like yours or mine. And even someone articulating my views, if you go and tell your friend about this video, it will be a re-articulation. It'll be different. So we can't just get away and say, well, there's opinions and there's people's lives. And we can't do that. No matter how many times Cory Booker says it or whoever, we can't do it. And we shouldn't do it, because communication, speech, language, and argument are the human condition. That's what being human is all about. And it's built in. So we have to be able to argue with one another in a way to where we can make progress on our perceptions. Well, that's all I had to say about it. Horrible day yesterday. Got a lot of people thinking and talking. And me too. And I think I'm just going to vow to try to do more on this channel to really spread rhetoric, because I think we really need it. Nothing else is going to get us out of this. Not all the facts in the world. Nothing is going to fix it other than us speaking to each other and arguing and debating properly. Well, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think that's it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure to like, comment, please comment, and subscribe if you haven't already.